Let's go to our caller from the 718 area code. Who's calling today from 718?
Hey, Greg from New York, first-time caller.
Hey, Greg, what's up?
I'm glad you just called yourself a left libertarian. I think on some level, I'm sort of more on the libertarian side, a little more skeptical of the government institutions, including police. And I just wanted to say a lot of the progressive hosts are sort of coming around to the conversation that libertarians have been having.
Okay, let me stop you right there, Greg, though, because I need to issue a huge disclaimer. When I say I'm a left libertarian, I'm saying small L libertarian, right? So if we imagine a spectrum of authoritarianism and libertarianism, these are lowercase. My instinct is I want to be more on the libertarian side unless there's a compelling reason to regulate or to involve government. So I am not at all, not at all, a capital L libertarian. I just mean that on issues of authoritarianism versus libertarianism, I tend to lean towards the little L libertarianism unless there's a compelling reason not to.
Right. I think I'm the same way.
Okay.
And I just wanted to push you a little bit with my skepticism of the government.
Sure.
Right. So, for example, just in the last few months, we've had everyone from the WHO to the CDC, Surgeon General, including Fauci and including Pence, saying don't wear masks. And I believe that was a mistake that led to the lockdowns, which were supposed to be a last resort. The economic damage done from that and people out of work now contributed to these giant protests, which of course the police, this has been going on for years with the Ferguson protests, and then we had the Baltimore. This has been going on.
Yep.
So I am very skeptical of having these authorities tell us don't wear masks and then later saying, yeah, you should wear masks. And just yesterday, the WHO retracted what they said, which was that, asymptomatic people don't spread the virus, but then they kind of walked it back with nuance and whatever. Why are we listening as regular people who are living in the world? Why don't we take things into our own hands, put things into the lobbies of buildings and solve it on a private level?
Okay, so there's a couple different things going on here that are interesting. First of all, you're rightly pointing out that there have been misunderstandings about the virus. Those misunderstandings are not inherent to government agencies necessarily. In other words, lots of people, you also had, people that had nothing to do with government saying we weren't going to have any cases by the end of April. They had nothing to do with government. They were also very, very wrong. So that part, do you agree with that? That there were all sorts of things that were incorrect about the coronavirus from industry, from private citizens, from government agencies, from health organizations. A lot of people got a lot of things wrong. You agree?
Oh, absolutely. Many people get things wrong, but when you centralize the decision-making in the hands of a few people that are wrong, that's when it gets really bad.
Well, my argument would be that it's a contradiction that you are on the one hand asserting your skepticism of government power while at the same time saying most of the mistakes were not doing enough. So a lot of libertarians, if presented with the mandate from government very early for everybody to wear masks, would have said, I don't want that. That's too much power. The government can't tell me to wear a mask. So I want you to think about that contradiction. You're saying you're skeptical of government authority, but you're saying they weren't strict enough. But wouldn't you have been saying, who are they to tell me to wear a mask if they had said that right away?
Well, to be clear, I think there will be governments anyway, whether it's a neighborhood or a city or a state.
Okay, but that wasn't my question. But that wasn't my question, Greg.
Right. Well, to answer your question directly, I'm saying that because we're accustomed to listening to certain authorities, right?
Yes.
The word authority would imply that they have the authority in the knowledge of it also. The fact that we're accustomed to this versus, let's say, in science or the English language and so on, I think that we have to be very careful with the messaging that's coming out from WHO. They were wrong, and that's important to how are you going to put in fail-safe so it doesn't happen next time?
I agree with you. We have to. This was a disaster on all levels. We have to have a better, more well-functioning system. The pandemic response team never should have been abandoned. The pandemic response playbook that was left behind for Trump should have been followed. But remember, Trump didn't listen to the WHO on a lot of stuff. So at least in the United States, you said you're in New York, a lot of what went wrong here doesn't really have as much to do with the with the WHO. We have a government here that was led by an incompetent buffoon. So I don't want to put the focus too much on the WHO, even though I agree with your critiques, Greg.
Oh, last thing I just wanted to say, look, I live in New York, and just look at the sense of proportion. The NYPD is the 7th largest army in the world by number of people.
Yep.
We operate across several continents with the war on terror and the expanded budget. Why not? When I say defund, right, people, I think that's the wrong word. Many people say, disinvest or reduce the budget.
Yep.
Reduce the budget of the DOD. They can't account for $7 trillion. I mean, at what point do we finally say, look, conservatives, we agree with you. Let's start cutting, and we will start with the DOD and the police force and give to hospitals, give to, schools. Why not?
Yeah, I think one thing that has been very much missing from this entire discussion is we talk about defunding and demilitarizing the police. What about defunding and demilitarizing the military, which is very rarely being discussed right now? And, there's much more of a debate as to what police departments are doing for us than what 50 bases in Germany are doing for us. And I agree with you, Greg. I would like to see that be a bigger part of the discussion.
Thank you. All right, so that's it. I just want to end with a word of kudos. There's a lot of people that don't embrace allies, across libertarians or conservatives. And you, David, I think are out to talk about the truth and stick to actually fact. And I think there's a lot of hope. If everybody did that, I think we could find a lot of common ground.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. Appreciate the phone call and the kind words. That's going to do it for calls today. Sorry I wasn't able to get to everybody, but I do appreciate so many people wanting to call in. We'll take a quick break and be back right after this.